All right, let's jump straight into today's explainer because we are looking at something truly chilling. We're breaking down a piece of regional folklore about a shape-shifting entity known as the Chalawa. And guys, this isn't just a ghost story. It's a really dark cautionary tale about arrogance, ignoring tradition, and, well, what might literally be lurking in the dark when you decide to venture off the beaten path.
So, I want to start off by asking you this exact question. What really happens when you just completely ignore local warnings? In this explainer, we're following a guy named Manoj. He just got transferred to the Konkan district in Maharashtra. He's traveling with his companion, Anu, a hired truck driver, and the driver's helper, Chotu. They're just trying to move households. But as you'll see, this mundane trip is about to turn into a literal fight for survival. Now, before things get crazy, we need to understand exactly what Manoj and this crew are up against. What is a Chalawa? According to the folklore, this thing isn't your typical roadside bandit. It's a supernatural illusionist. It creates these horrific, mind-bending visions just to completely disorient its prey. And the absolute scariest rule of all, once this entity latches onto you, it demands a life before it ever lets go.
Okay, moving right into Section 1, The Ignored Warning. Subtitle, 4 p.m., The Departure.
So looking at this timeline, you can see the clock starts ticking right at 4 p.m. The truck gets loaded up incredibly late. Now, starting an 8 to 9 hour journey to the Konkan district at 4 p.m. is a huge mistake. It basically guarantees they're going to be driving through completely isolated, deeply haunted territory in the dead of night. By 7 p.m., it's pitch black, and the driver and Chotu are already panicking. They're literally begging to stop. But Manoj pushes them onward until 10 p.m. when they're finally forced to pull over for food at this desolate little forest eatery or dhaba.
Now, this is where we get some massive foreshadowing. Before they even hit the road, the truck driver explicitly lays out the rules of the Chalawa. He straight up warns Manoj that traveling this specific route at night is like voluntarily putting your head in a mortar. But Manoj, he's completely focused on starting his new office job the next morning, so he just dismisses the whole thing as complete nonsense and superstition. He literally forces the crew to drive on.
Let's look at Section 2, Omens at the Dhaba. 10 p.m., the empty stop. Okay, so the environment is screaming at them to stop. The red flags are everywhere. First, they arrive and the dhaba is completely abandoned. No customers at all. The owner tells them nobody dares travel this road after 7 p.m. and desperately tries to get them to stay in his guest house. But Manoj, being arrogant, assumes the guy just wants to squeeze a commission out of them. Meanwhile, Anu spills some food on her clothes and goes behind the building alone to wash up. Out there in the pitch black, she hears very distinct phantom footsteps following her, only to get jump-scared by a cat. To make matters worse, the truck driver wanders off by himself into the dark for a quick bathroom break. All these warnings, all these people totally isolated in the dark, and they just brush it all off.
And right after they drive back into the deep forest, the true nightmare kicks off. Anu is staring down the road and suddenly just lets out a terrifying scream, slamming the brakes. She sees this completely horrific illusion, a man completely drenched in blood, standing right in front of the truck, who then just vanishes into thin air right before her eyes. The driver goes into a full panic, realizing that Chalawa is officially on them. And Manoj, still in total denial, he just tells Anu to close her eyes and ignore it. Seriously.
All right, Section 3, The Silent Barat. Midnight, the haunting begins.
To really wrap your head around the dread here, you got to think about the sensory contrast the folklore is using. All of a sudden, the crew sees a barat, a traditional wedding procession coming right at them. But think about a normal barat, right? It's incredibly loud, brass bands, drumming, people dancing. But the Chalawa's barat, it is dead, unnaturally silent. No drums, no music, just these fully dressed figures moving menacingly toward the truck. The driver throws it in reverse to get away, but when they check the side mirrors, that exact same silent procession is walking right behind them too. They are completely boxed in by ghosts.
Which brings us to Section 4, Trapped in a Loop, Nowhere to Run.
You see, this entity doesn't just try to spook you, it hunts you, very methodically, in 3 distinct steps. First, it hits you with visual terror, like the bloody man and that creepy silent barat. Then, step 2, it actually manipulates the physical environment so you cannot leave. And finally, step 3, it strips away your only armor, in this case, their truck. It forces the vehicle to break down so they have absolutely no choice but to step out into the dark. And realizing they're trapped is just a bone-chilling moment. Picture this. They are flooring the gas pedal, driving at top speed, but they suddenly realize they are passing the exact same geographic markers over and over again. Chotu, the helper, points out this specific water stand, or piao, with a plot on it that they passed miles ago back near the dhaba.
Next to it is a bench that reads Konkan 2 hours away. And they pass it again and again. They're literally stuck in a spatial loop. Then, out of nowhere, with a violent screech, the truck slams on its brakes entirely on its own and goes dead. They are sitting ducks.
Section 5. The Deadly Night. The Abandoned House.
So they panic. They think if they stay in the truck, the Chalawa will get them. So they bolt into the bushes. They stumble upon this small, abandoned house lit by just a single lantern. They lock the door, thinking they're finally safe, and pass out from exhaustion. But in the middle of the night, a water glass shatters on the floor. Anu wakes up, rubs her eyes, and screams. Chotu is dead on the floor. His throat has been completely torn out. In a flash, this supernatural ghost story morphs into a locked room murder mystery.
And this is where the psychological terror is just brilliant. The paranoia goes through the roof and turns the survivors against each other. The driver immediately accuses Anu. His logic? Well, she went to the back of the dhaba alone, she saw the bloody man first, so obviously the entity took her place and she is the Chalawa. Anu fights back, reminding them that the driver also went out alone at the dhaba. But the driver isn't listening. He grabs a heavy stick and violently swings at Anu. Manoj jumps in, takes the blow to the head, and collapses to the floor, bleeding.
All right, Section 6. The Mirror's Truth. The Final Twist. This part is wild. So Manoj is on the floor, bleeding, holding his head, right? And he happens to look into a little mirror dropped on the ground. He looks up at the enraged truck driver standing over him and looks back at the mirror. The truck driver has absolutely no reflection. Boom! The terrifying truth finally clicks. The real truck driver was probably killed and replaced when he walked into the dark back at the dhaba. This whole time, the shape-shifting Chalawa has been sitting inside the truck, right next to them. Pure adrenaline takes over here. It's fight or flight, and Manoj chooses fight. He grabs that heavy water pot and just smashes it right over the fake driver's head. He grabs the stick, beats the stunned entity back, grabs Anu by the hand, and they just sprint blindly out into the night. And just as they burst through the door, the most crucial timer of all goes off. The very first rays of morning sunlight break through the trees.
And that sunrise is everything. The folklore has a strict rule. When the sun rises, the Chalawa completely loses its power. The illusion basically shatters in the daylight. Because they managed to hold out until dawn, the entity couldn't pursue them anymore. Manoj and Anu make it to the main highway and manage to safely flag down a passing morning bus to Konkan.
So what is the ultimate takeaway here? Well, it's a pretty dark morality tale. Sure, Manoj and Anu made it out alive, but look at the cost. The innocent truck driver and Chotu died in horrible ways. And it's painfully clear that this whole tragedy traces back to one thing: Manoj's arrogance. By brushing off the locals, the timelines and the traditions as just, uneducated superstition, he drove his entire crew straight into a supernatural trap.
It's really easy for us to dismiss these things when we're sitting in a safe, well-lit room. But this explainer serves as a pretty intense reminder about why local legends exist in the first place. So I'll leave you with this. Next time you find yourself driving completely alone on an empty highway after midnight, are you absolutely sure you're the only one out there?